Yo guys, today we're going to show you how to install coilovers on your all-wheel drive Tesla Model 3 or Model Y. Keep in mind the Model Y and Model 3 are going to be the same suspension geometry, meaning fitment is only specific to your drivetrain. So again, this is for all-wheel drive configured vehicles. If you have a rear-wheel drive based vehicle, we have a video for you linked below. Starting at the front, pop off your lug nut cover, then your lug nuts, and go ahead and remove the wheel. Remove the nut attaching the top of your sway bar end link and remove it from the strut. Then using a small pry tool, you can remove the ABS line from the upper control arm. Next, remove the lower bolt and nut holding the strut to the front lower control arm. Then coming back to the upper control arm, remove this nut in order to loosen the ball joint mount. Now we're going under the hood to remove the air vent maintenance cover located between the front and the front windshield. We're working on removing the HEPA filter assembly. Remove the two bolts on either side of the vehicle, then the plastic fastener holding the windshield washer filler neck. At this point, the entire HEPA filter assembly should be free to remove, exposing the three nuts and studs from the top hat on both sides of the vehicle. Remove the three top hat nuts, and this is a tight space, so a flex head ratchet and an angled pick tool to remove the nuts once you've removed them can be super helpful here. At this point, the entire front strut assembly should be free to remove from the vehicle. Then go ahead and slip your new Raceland coilovers in and secure the top first by threading the new nuts back onto the three studs up top. Now we can just work in reverse order and start putting everything back together. Replace your HEPA filter assembly, reattach the windshield washer filler neck with the plastic fastener, replace the two bolts on either side, then the air vent maintenance cover again. Head back underneath the car and place the ball joint back in the upper control arm mount. It may be helpful to remove the bolt passing through the front here or use a pry tool to open this mount up. Once you get the ball joint secured, pass the bolt back through and thread the nut back on. Replace the lower bolt and nut to secure the coilover to the front lower control arm. Then reattach the ABS line, push your sway bar end link back through the new mount and thread the nut back on. Go ahead and replace the wheel, and let's move on to the rear. Pop off your lug nut cover, then your lug nuts, and go ahead and remove the wheel. Remove the plastic lower control arm cover by taking out the single bolt holding it here. Make sure to support the lower control arm from underneath with a jack or another kind of support, and remove the two bolts from the lower strut and knuckle. With these removed, you can safely lower the control arm down with your jack and remove the spring. Then there are these two bolts securing the top of the strut to the chassis. They can be removed with a deep socket or an extension, and you can go ahead and pull out the rear strut. And we're going to be reusing our OEM hardware, so go ahead and remove it from the old strut, then feed in your new Raceland strut and pop these bolts back in. Your new rear spring will have its own threaded mount, but we'll be reusing the upper and lower spring isolator mounts. So be sure to place the upper isolator on the new threaded mount and the lower isolator on the smaller end of the new spring. Now make sure your spring assembly is oriented with the threaded mount on top, and you can pull your lower control arm down and put it back into place. Then we can just work in reverse order again. Jack your lower control arm back up to compress the spring and strut so you can secure the two bolts to the lower strut and the knuckle. Then finally replace your plastic lower control arm cover with the single bolt, pop the wheel back on, and give yourself a pat on the back because you just installed coilovers on your Tesla. As always, if you have any questions, we're happy to help. You can reach us here locally at 801-365-1440 or at info@raceland.com.